Imagine a single ancient plant that gave the Aztecs both protein-rich seeds and vitamin-packed leaves, powerful enough to fuel an empire and sacred enough to shape its religion. For centuries, this crop was so central that Spanish conquerors banned it, some say on pain of death, erasing it from fields for 400 years. Why would a superfood that could replace both meat and greens become dangerous enough to outlaw? The answer reaches from royal tribute to cultural survival, and it starts at the very root of civilization. A single stalk rises from the soil, its deep green leaves spreading wide, each one packed with more calcium and vitamin C than spinach. At the very top, clusters of tiny seeds shimmer in the sunlight, thousands upon thousands, each no bigger than a grain of sand, yet rich in protein and vital amino acids. This is amaranth, a plant that offers not just one kind of food, but two: nourishing greens and a complete protein grain growing together on the same stem. Every part of this plant holds value. The leaves can be picked fresh and cooked like any leafy vegetable, their flavor bright and earthy. As the season turns, the seed heads swell and deepen in color, sometimes glowing red or purple, sometimes golden. When the seeds are harvested, a single plant can yield hundreds of thousands, enough to feed a family, or in ancient times, an entire community. Unlike most crops, amaranth thrives where others fail. Its roots reach into poor soil and withstand drought, drawing strength from harsh conditions. The plant's resilience made it a cornerstone of survival for generations, demanding little and giving much. To the Aztecs, this was more than just a food source. It was a living promise, meat and greens all from one plant, able to nourish both body and spirit. The same stalk could fill a pot with greens in the spring, then fill baskets with seeds in the fall. In a world where most crops offer one harvest, amaranth delivers two, side by side. This dual bounty set the stage for something extraordinary. A civilization built not just on maize and beans, but on a plant that could feed, heal, and inspire. Its presence in every field and every kitchen made it indispensable, and soon its value would reach far beyond the dinner table. From the heart of the Aztec Empire, an intricate web of roads and causeways stretched outward, binding distant provinces to the capital. Along these routes, teams of tribute carriers moved in steady procession, each burdened with sacks of amaranth destined for the imperial granaries. Every year, according to historical sources, nearly 20,000 tons of amaranth flowed into Tenochtitlan, collected from 17 provinces, measured and recorded by imperial stewards. The Codex Mendoza, a surviving tribute ledger, depicts these deliveries alongside maize and beans, confirming amaranth's status as a staple of both daily life and statecraft. The sheer scale of this operation is staggering. Carriers walked 20 or 30 miles a day, crossing stone causeways and mountain passes, each step a link in a chain that fed millions. Upon arrival, the grain was poured into vast storage houses, Petlacali, where it joined the empire's reserves. These granaries were more than warehouses. They were the backbone of Aztec power, ensuring against famine, provisioning armies, and sustaining the endless rhythm of city life. Amaranth's role in this system placed it on equal footing with corn and beans. All three were demanded as tribute. All three kept the empire's people alive. But amaranth's dual harvest, grain and greens, meant it could fill gaps no other crop could, offering nourishment even when other stores ran low. The emperor's court depended on these flows, and so did the markets of Tlatelolco, where amaranth changed hands by the basketful, fueling both the city's appetite and its economy. This network of tribute and storage reveals just how deeply the empire relied on amaranth. Its abundance was a symbol of stability, its absence a threat to the very order of society. Within these logistics lay a vulnerability. A single crop woven into every layer of Aztec life could become a pressure point for power itself. In the heart of Tenochtitlan, as the festival calendar turned, artisans gathered in temple courtyards to begin a sacred task. Hands dusted with ground amaranth and fresh honey, they mixed the two into a pliable dough called tsoali. The scent of wild honey mingled with the earthy grain, forming a paste unlike any other in the empire. From this dough they shaped figures, towering gods with feathered headdresses, fierce animals, mountains, and even entire scenes from myth. Each statue was crafted with care, layer upon layer, until the likeness was unmistakable. For days, these honeyed creations stood at the center of the city, surrounded by flowers and offerings, drawing crowds from every district. When the festival reached its peak, priests and commoners alike gathered in the square. The statues were not just admired, they were worshipped, honored as living embodiments of the divine. Prayers and songs filled the air, echoing against the stone walls of the temples. The figures, once symbols of power and creation, were then broken apart. Pieces of the sacred dough passed from hand to hand, each person taking a share. Eating the tsoali was a communal act, binding the people together in spirit and purpose. For the Aztecs, this ritual was more than a celebration. It was a way to bring the gods into the body, to make the sacred tangible. The act of eating these statues was a promise to remember, to sustain, to belong. In these moments, amaranth was not just food or tribute. It became the heart of faith, the very substance of community. The memory of these rituals would linger long after the festivals ended, shaping the meaning of amaranth for generations to come. In the wake of the conquest, Spanish friars and chroniclers found themselves confronted by sights they could barely comprehend. Bernardino de Sahagún, in the Florentine Codex of the 1570s, described Aztec ceremonies where dough figures crafted from amaranth and honey were worshipped as living gods, then broken and eaten by entire communities. For the missionaries, these rituals were not simple feasts. They saw them as blasphemy, a deliberate imitation of the Christian communion, with amaranth statues standing in for the body of Christ. Reports from the 1520s, written in the uneasy hand of Spanish chroniclers, called these acts idolatry of the highest order. The friars recoiled at the sight of thousands gathered to consume what they believed were edible gods. The outrage was immediate and intense. In letters and sermons, missionaries condemned the ceremonies as a threat to the very foundation of the new faith they were sworn to defend. They argued that as long as amaranth remained in the fields and on the altars, the work of conversion could never be complete. Chroniclers described priests smashing the figures, burning the leftover dough, and urging colonial authorities to act. The Spanish response would soon move from outrage to enforcement, with the full weight of colonial law brought down on the crop and the people who grew it. In 1521, the Spanish conquest brought more than new rulers to the Valley of Mexico. It brought a legal order that reached deep into the fields. Colonial authorities, acting on the demands of priests and chroniclers, issued decrees that made the cultivation of amaranth a crime. Surviving records from the Archivo General de Indias and the accounts of friars describe a campaign that went far beyond burning statues or smashing idols. Fields of amaranth were set ablaze across central Mexico. Missionaries and officials moved through villages, searching out the plant wherever it grew. Chroniclers recorded that Hernán Cortés himself threatened to cut off the hands of anyone caught growing amaranth. The warning echoed through the countryside. While no single edict survives detailing specific punishments, the pattern is clear. Amaranth was to be erased from both altar and earth. In the decades that followed, diocesan orders and local authorities enforced the ban with a mix of violence and intimidation. Reports from the 1540s describe thousands of hectares burned, seeds destroyed, and farmers forced to abandon the crop under threat of mutilation or death. Over the next 4 centuries, the ban persisted in law and custom, driving amaranth from the valleys into the mountains, from public markets into hidden gardens. What had once been a symbol of abundance became a mark of defiance, its cultivation punishable by the harshest penalties colonial law could muster. Spanish rule in the Americas was as much about economics as faith. After the conquest, colonial officials turned their attention to the fields. Wheat, a crop foreign to the land, became the new standard, not for its yield or resilience, but because it could be measured, taxed, and controlled. The Crown set up a system favoring European grains. Wheat flour was required for church communion, and colonial authorities imposed fees on its production, ensuring a steady flow of revenue back to Spain. Amaranth, by contrast, grew wild and free. It thrived on poor soils, needed little tending, and could be harvested by anyone. No tribute collectors could count the hidden plants in mountain gardens. No taxman could trace the seeds passed quietly from hand to hand. For colonial overseers, this independence was a threat. Amaranth's abundance undermined the fiscal order they were building, where every harvest meant profit for the empire. By erasing amaranth from the fields, Spanish authorities were not just stamping out old beliefs, they were clearing the way for a new economic system. The ban was enforced with the language of faith, but its consequences rippled through the ledgers and markets of New Spain, reshaping what could be grown, who could profit, and who controlled the food supply. Protein isn't just a number on a nutrition label, it's a matter of survival. Most grains, like wheat or rice, fall short when it comes to the building blocks the human body can't make on its own. Amaranth breaks that rule. Its seeds contain all 9 essential amino acids, making it one of the rare plants that offer a complete protein, the kind usually found in meat, eggs, or dairy. Scientists measure this with a score called the Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score. Amaranth stands near the top, rivaling quinoa and far surpassing wheat or corn. The secret is lysine. While wheat contains only a trace, amaranth has 2 to 3 times as much, closing the gap that leaves most grains incomplete. This isn't just theory. The Food and Agriculture Organization has called amaranth's protein superior in content and quality to that of traditional cereals. It's not just for the lab either. In the 1980s, NASA selected amaranth as a candidate crop for astronaut diets, running trials in controlled environments to see how it would perform in space. The results were clear: fast growth, high yield, and a protein profile that could keep a crew healthy millions of miles from Earth. For centuries, people depended on amaranth to fill the role of both grain and meat. Today, its nutritional credentials are confirmed by the highest authorities on Earth and beyond. The next chapter of this story isn't just about seeds. It's about the leaves and the hidden power they hold. In kitchens from Oaxaca to Mumbai, cooks reach for amaranth leaves not just for tradition, but for what is inside. A handful of these greens delivers more vitamin C than a serving of spinach, twice as much, according to USDA tables. Calcium is higher as well. Amaranth leaves offer nearly 3 times the amount found in spinach, a boost for bones and teeth that rivals dairy. The numbers do not stop there. Vitamin K, essential for blood clotting and bone health, is higher here too. And when it comes to iron, amaranth leaves quietly outpace most leafy vegetables, helping to prevent anemia where meat is scarce or too costly. Dietitians point to this combination as a nutritional edge, especially in places where diets lean heavily on grains or tubers. A single plant, growing in poor soil or backyard plots, can supply the micronutrients that keep immune systems strong and bodies growing. In some regions, families harvest the leaves daily, sautéed with garlic, tossed into soups, or steamed like spinach. The taste is mild, slightly earthy, never bitter. What sets amaranth apart is not just the numbers, but the way it fits into daily life. In the same week, a cook might pluck young leaves for a quick stir-fry, then let the plant mature for seeds that fill the pantry. Nutritionists call this a rare gift: protein and greens together, from a crop that needs little and gives much. In times of scarcity, that is more than convenience, it is survival. And for those looking to replace both meat and greens, Amaranth leaves are more than a side dish. They are a mainstay. High in the mountains of Oaxaca and Puebla, families held onto a secret. While Spanish law forbade amaranth and fields were burned in the valleys, a handful of elders tucked seeds away in clay jars, hidden behind walls or buried beneath floorboards. For centuries, these seeds passed quietly from one generation to the next, each transfer a silent act of defiance. Oral histories tell of women slipping amaranth grains into the hems of their skirts, planting them in corners of cornfields, or tending tiny garden plots deep in the forest. In these remote places, the plant survived, not as a relic, but as a living thread, nourishing the body and preserving memory. By the 1970s, most of the world had forgotten amaranth. But botanist Dr. J.D. Sauer set out to find what remained. Traveling to isolated villages, he met with elders who still grew the plant in secret. Sauer collected over 50 distinct varieties, each one adapted to its hidden home. He called amaranth a grain of supernatural power, marveling at its ability to thrive where others failed. Seed banks began cataloging these lineages, ensuring their survival beyond the mountains. Today, amaranth is no longer confined to secrecy. Farmers across India, Africa, and the Americas now plant it for food security and resilience. A single plant can yield up to 500,000 seeds, enough to fill pantries, restock gardens, and share with neighbors. In backyards and city lots, gardeners are rediscovering how easy it is to grow. Scatter the seeds, keep the soil moist, and soon the tall stalks will return, bearing greens and gray side by side. Each harvest is a reminder. What once survived in hiding now flourishes in the open, a testament to the quiet power of those who refuse to let it disappear. Today, amaranth grows on 5 continents, thriving where other crops fail and feeding millions. In a world facing food insecurity and climate extremes, its resilience and nutrition are more relevant than ever. The seeds once hidden for survival now offer a blueprint for self-sufficiency. Some knowledge resists erasure, and every harvest is a quiet act of defiance. What would you plant if you knew it could change everything?